Hello, this is Rachel Cipriano coming to you again from Magnificent Resilience. I wanted to talk to you about a certain aspect of resilience that I don't think in our culture we spend enough time thinking about. And that's kind of our ancestors and our legacy. And let me explain what I mean. I've shared on this channel and in my presentations and other ways of communicating that part of my story, a huge part of my origin story, to use a Marvel term, is the fact that I came from some very challenging situations and from a family that was affected by a great deal of trauma. However, having said that, part of what makes my story so robust, my life so meaningful, is I do have examples of people from my past that inspire me and encourage me to go out there and live the way they did, with boldness and courage. I have those role models, and I think that is something very important for all of us to know more about, is some of the people in our past and where we came from, kind of more about our lineage. And I encourage you, if you do have those elderly relatives still alive, inquire and get some information. And you yourself probably know of some people. And I just wanted to briefly share about one in my family in particular. And that is my great-grandfather on my father's side. He died in 1995, but he was actually born in 1898. Yes, he almost lived to be 98 years old. And it's kind of cool that I actually knew somebody who had been born in the 19th century. Anyway, my great-grandfather was an amazing man. And I'll tell three brief stories just to demonstrate how he enriched my experience with his life. And I believe you have people that most likely in your family have done the same for you. First of all, he raised my grandfather, my dad's father, and the rest of his children during the Depression. And because my great-grandfather was such an industrious, resourceful person, they never missed one meal. They never had to worry about being separated, as some of the families in the Depression were, sadly, just because they were so desperate to get work and everything was so economically challenged. Because the quality my great-grandfather had was that if he couldn't do one thing, he'd do another. That's part of resilience. If plan A doesn't work, you go to plan B, plan C, plan D, so on and so forth. He knew how to do that. So that's just inspiring in itself. Then another story in my family that demonstrated my grandfather's strength and tenacity and resilience is that he was living out in Arizona. He used to make turquoise jewelry and do construction in Indian reservations. And somehow, through a series of circumstances, he was wounded and he developed gangrene in his leg. And if you know anything about that, that is a very, very serious condition that you can pass away from. And so a doctor there in Phoenix told him that you need to have this leg amputated. You need to have your leg removed to save your life. Well, my grandpa took one look at him and he said, "If I die, I die, but I am dying with both my legs." So my grandmother came from where she was living, his daughter-in-law, and she lived in Illinois. She drove all the way to Phoenix, picked him up, took him back, and took him to a doctor there in the Chicago area. And the doctor took one look at his injury and he said, "You don't need to lose your leg. This can be treated with antibiotics. And my grandfather recovered and he was fine. So I know for some people they might think, oh, you've got to listen to the doctor. But a lot of us know you should get a second opinion. And I think he just embodied somebody who questioned and didn't necessarily take everything as, oh, the authority says this, so I better do it. And it proved very fruitful for him and was a great lesson to me. Finally, the third story is one where he was in Illinois with our family, my dad, my grandfather, his son, and my brother Sean. They were all traveling down to Southern Illinois because we had family down there. They had parked, the car had broken down, so they had to park on the side of the road. And it was about dusk, just that kind of odd time where it's not quite night, but not quite day either. And a car pulled up behind them. And they just knew in their hearts these people had no good intentions. They had planned to rob them. They weren't stopping to help or anything like that. So being the quick thinking, resourceful person he is, or was, my grandfather had this very large, tall wooden cane, and he just put it up like this, where they could see it from the back out the window. And in the dusk, it looked like a shotgun. And quickly, that car just sped away. So those are just 3 stories, how my grandfather provided for his family during the Depression, how he didn't lose his leg out of his own tenacity and determination, and how he protected my grandfather, dad, and brother in what could have been a very dangerous situation. So just think about that for yourself. Do you have a grandmother, an uncle, a great-grandparents, the people in your life who really kind of set the bar and demonstrated that resilience, that tenacity, that resourcefulness that has a positive effect on your life today? And if you're so fortunate that those people happen to be living, I encourage you to give them a call, pay them a visit, or write them a letter, and let them know what their example has meant for your life. It really is a very overlooked part of resilience to understand our past, understand our ancestors, and for that reason, that is why genealogy is very interesting to me. So just food for thought today. You have a great holiday season. This is the perfect time to reach out to those loved ones that have done so much to provide that legacy. And you have a great day. Keep on keeping on. Rachel Cipriano with Magnificent Resilience. Please like, share, and subscribe.